Hi everyone, my name's James and welcome to Get Good at Golf. In today's video we're going to talk you through 7 tips that your teaching professional has never told you. So guys, the first thing that we always see, and people don't get taught it often enough, is about the grip, how to hold the club. Now all of a sudden you're thinking, well, I know how to hold the club, I know I want my left hand on top, I want my right hand on bottom, I know I'm going to interlock my grips, or I'm going to overlap, or I'm even going to baseball. That's not the only thing you want to think about when we talk about grip. Yes, I want to have the little V pointing at my shoulder here because then the grip isn't strong and isn't weak, and I want the right hand just to sit nicely between the Golf Pride logo there. That's not the most important thing when it comes to how to hold the golf club. The most important aspect of holding a golf club is the pressure you put on that grip. If I squeeze this grip really hard, you'll see my knuckles start to go blue, and that doesn't allow me to set the club properly. So if I step on this first tee, squeeze the knuckles too hard, I can't set the club properly on the way back. If I have a nice relaxed grip, probably about a 3 out of 10. Gary Player once said, feel like you're holding a budgie in your hands, you don't want to harm it, but you don't want to let it go. So that's about how you want to hold it. I can set the club on the way back, I can then turn up to the top of the backswing, and from there, that's going to allow me to have a nice free flowing golf swing on the first hole. That's tip number 1.
So guys, the second point is again at setup, and one big thing that we see a lot of people get told is to have the weight on the left hand side when using an iron. One thing they don't talk about, and you will have not been told by your pro, is where to have your feet front to back. So if you get too much weight in the front of your feet, then what we're going to see is this left shoulder is going to work down and the club is going to get very steep. It's also going to make it very hard to turn, because if I turn, I'm going to fall forwards. Again, the opposite, if my weight is in the heels, that's going to encourage me now to fall backwards, and a lot of times this is when we see people get a flat shoulder plane, so the left shoulder comes up, it's really flat, and then from there they'll want to work it over the top, and we see no real power. There's a lot of turn, but there's no stability, and they're not going to be able to get a strike. So a drill that you can do when you're on the driving range is to put an alignment stick underneath your feet, and you want to see that I'm not leaning forwards, I'm not leaning back, it's throughout the feet. So we're getting even pressure on there. From there, what we're going to be able to do is hit a shot, and you'll be able to see in your finish if you've done that correctly. Again, in your finish, what you should be able to see is the weight is throughout this left foot. So I'm not in my toes, I've not fallen forwards, and I'm not falling back. So weight is nice and balanced at the finish, all on that left side, but throughout the feet from front to back.
So another point which we find that people never get told in their golf lessons, and it actually contradicts something that so many people who've come for a golf lesson have told me. So when you stand at a golf ball, we've got 150 yards, when you stand at a golf ball, we always get told, right, I want a nice even stance, I want you 50-50 with your weight, because then you can load up into your trail side, project into your lead side, and that's generally how we want to strike the golf ball. That's incorrect. You think if you're starting 50-50, there's nothing to push off to get into that trail side, there's nothing to move away from. You think of a sprinter in the blocks, they always start pushing against something, that resistance helps you set off. So we're going to actually start with 10% more weight on our left side. This is something that Henrik Stenson does incredibly well. Start on the left side so I can just sense a little bit more pressure on that side. I can then push off into my right side. That allows me to get into the correct position to push again, but rotate into the impact position. So that's going to look a little bit like this. So I go to the left side and get a really nice strike towards that flag. You'll see here, where's that finished? And now you'll see that where the ball was here, we have a lovely little divot just going slightly to the left, which you want with an iron after impact. That's because I've set my weight left, loaded up to the right, and transferred back into my lead side.
So tip number 4, guys, is you'll see on the tee, you'll see plenty of videos talking about getting the club wide in your takeaway. So making sure that it's not all close, we're not bending the arms, keeping the club nice and far away from that body. So also we'll see that the club is outside the hands, we're not rolling the hands and getting the club around here, because that's going to cause a lot of problems when we get into the downswing. One thing from down the line, as you'll see, when I take that away, we want that club head or the leading edge to match our spine angle as we take it away. We don't want to see it getting toe up. That's going to open the club face, and then when we're coming down into impact, that's going to encourage a glancing blow and loose shots to the right. So we want to keep that nice and wide. It's the body and the club turning together. That will get the club to match my spine angle, and then from there we should be able to make a solid contact.
Great strike.
So guys, that's tip number 4. Make sure you keep it wide. It's not just with the driver, it's also with your irons. Okay, so tip number 5 is talking about rotation. So a lot of people struggle with rotation in the backswing. Everything starts to get arms start to bend, we then start to lift. It's not a turn from the chest. So we want to really feel that this movement away is nice and wide, and then from there we're really feeling that in the backswing my chest is pointing straight away from the target. From here that club is now going to get into this position. We're not going to overswing, so we don't need to bend the arms. Nice and wide, chest is turned, and then from there we can start to unwind the chest, come into impact, and you'll see as we get to impact it's ever so slightly open. So if you struggle with that on the backswing, one other thing to do, because a lot of people don't get the hips to move, is you can turn this right foot out a little bit, just a little bit. That gets it easier for you to turn. If you to stand there and put your feet straight, we're limited to how far we can go. If we now turn that right foot out ever so slightly, you can see I can rotate and I can turn better. If you're like James and you can't move that well, you're not the most athletic person on earth, then we can turn that foot out and it's going to help us get that turn. You'll see there, if I turn that out, it's really easy now to get a deep hip turn, and from here we're in a good position to come into the downswing. So if I do that now, just turn that right foot out ever so slightly, focus on the chest turning, and we can get a nice solid strike.
Now that's very interesting, guys, and another point that I'd like to add to that is rotation in the downswing, because rotation is very important in the backswing, but I would go as far as saying it's more important in the downswing. If you have a good backswing and you get to the top, then you start sliding into the ball here. That's going to severely affect how you can attack the ball. You're probably going to come too steep. You're generally going to sky it, fat it, duff it, all of the above. Whereas if you rotate nicely into that ball, A, you're going to get more speed. A rotational movement is a lot faster than a linear movement, which goes from A to B. So we're going to hit the ball a lot longer. Now, Chris mentioned about fanning out the right foot. If you fan out the right foot, yes, you can load up into the top of the backswing. That's fantastic, but it won't help you from sliding in there. So I'm actually going to fan out the left foot as well. You'll see a lot of good ball strikers stand very athletically. The feet are a little bit flared out because it's going to help you exactly the same on the way down. If you struggle to rotate that left hip into impact, just flaring that left foot out presets that hip just a little bit. Helps you to rotate through, which is going to get you more club head speed, hopefully more ball speed if you strike it well, and generally a much better ball flight.
So the final point we're going to come to, guys, is your finish position. So it's something that's often missed off, or if you're in lessons, people tell you to hold your finish, or you're playing with your mates, they say, oh, just hold your finish, and you have no reason why. They don't have a reason why, they just say, well, I've seen a few, or most, pros hold the finish. So the reason for that, guys, is if we're in our finish position, we can start to break down why you might have hit a shot. So this is true throughout the game, the same in your chipping, same in your putting, and same off the tee. You want to hold your finish and give yourself feedback. If you can give yourself feedback, you can break down exactly what went wrong potentially and correct that on the next hole. So if you hit a poor shot on the first, you're not thinking it's going to be a long 18 holes, or you play 9 and you walk in and go straight to the bar for a Monday Madrid. Well, today it's Tuesday, so it wouldn't be a Monday Madrid. So we want to think,
Tuesday
guys,
Tetley's.
Yeah, correct. Straight to the bar for a Tuesday Tetley's. Comment below if you know what Tetley's is. So what we're going to do is, when you hit a shot, I can start to break down why it might have gone in a certain direction. So if I hit this one now, okay, chest is pointing to the right, hips are pointing to the right, and I've not really turned through that golf shot. Straight away that has started right, because the club there is still working in that direction. So I'm going to lose the golf ball there. So if I do that on the first hole, I can start to think, right, yeah, I need to make sure I get through to that position where my hips and chest are pointing towards my target. The other way that we see people finish is again from here, they'll fall back and they're out of balance, chest is pointing way left, and nice and easy, that golf ball has gone left. James is now going to throw me another ball so I can show you the correct finish.
Blind?
I'm like you with that one.
So those Monday Madres.
Jesus, Tetleys are kicking in on a Tuesday. Right, so I'm going to show you.
I'm leaving all this in. We're leaving all this in.
Oh dear.
Guys, subscribe if this is what you want to see.
Right. So if I now get to a correct finish, if I now get my setup, swing in balance, and I get turned to target, we can see straight away now, divot pattern is much better. Hips and chest are pointing to the target, and that has just gone about 2 yards left of the flag. So holding your finish is for a reason. It's to break down why you might have mishit shots. You can certainly see why you might have hit it right, why you might have hit it left, and what you need to do to hit it straight. James has given me one more bonus tip to give you. Guys, just don't forget, be the ball.